It's a golden week for news in the Golden State. We take a look at California Indie Ball on this week's episode of the Indie Ball Report podcast. Anywho, we're talking a lot of California baseball this week. Now, I know a lot of you are expecting to go, wait a minute, the Atlantic League season starts in literal days. That's correct. And you'd think, well, then you guys are clearly going to do a preview now. You'd be incorrect. See, neither one of us really was prepared for that. And as opposed to digging through transaction logs to try to piece together rosters, I'd much rather just bother the media departments on each of these teams for rosters and have them send me the roster. Because for some weird reason, people believe me to be press. And I'm not going to correct them. So most of them have gotten back to me and said, yeah, we could probably get to you by the end of the week, Monday. That's when they're due. So that was kind of our decision that we're both not prepared and we're not going to have rosters till Monday. So we might as well just wait until then to do a bonus pod, doing a whole preview. And realistically, if it comes out the day after opening day, is there a fundamental difference? And frankly, I don't think that answer is yes. I think the answer is no. There's no fundamental difference. So that's kind of the decision we made.
I mean, yeah. And a lot of it, by the way, because I was thinking about it, I was like, well, it's really difficult because we're doing Thursday recording and it's Tuesday opening day, which is, I mean, considering how late rosters usually get set and officially released, it's asking a lot to have much, but that's usually what the time frame is, I think, on these, because they usually do Tuesday opening days. And I think the difference is usually I'm so in the weeds on Atlantic League stuff that I'm kind of bring those to the party for that. And I think this year, because I've been doing this whole tryout thing, I've been working on my website and all this stuff. I'm just very much spread thin and going, oh God, yeah, the Atlantic League's about to happen, huh? And I'm about to go away to Ohio for 4 days. So it's going to be a lot. But so I guess all that to say, partially on me, also not sorry, because I'm excited about this tryout camp thing.
Because you're going to skippity Riz out in Ohio?
It's going to be a disaster, dude, but whatever.
That's for the brain rock kids out there.
You're an idiot. I'm just going to keep moving. I will. Yeah. I mean, on that topic, I don't know. I'm feeling weirdly optimistic on Indie Ball right now. And I think part of it is we've had a few negative pods in a row and we've been over that before. I think a lot of it just happens to be the stories that come up during the off season. You know, if things are going well, it doesn't become news. So, then I don't know. I'm feeling, and maybe it's interacting with baseball in a different way lately, actually playing a bit and all that. I don't know. I'm kind of pretty hype on this.
All that to say, we'll be doing an Atlantic League preview next week.
I'm so excited.
And yeah, there's going to be a lot of childlike whimsy involved.
Your boy is geeked up. Are people saying that?
He's bricked up for this.
And I do apologize because I think it's going to be probably after the season starts, which I hate doing. I just don't know how I'm going to be able to do it from the road. We should just invite random Frontier League managers on to preview the Atlantic League with me.
Yo, actually, though, we just grab one random manager to go through each team's lineup and roster.
That'd be amazing. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. Anyway, so you can look forward to that next week.
Right.
For this week, though, we are going to talk about some California baseball because that's where the news is. We have things we already kind of knew, but have been formally announced. We'll take 2 minutes to talk about and then move on from there. And then we'll do something that's very rare on this show, which is talk about the Pecos League.
Yeah. And for, to give you an idea of this, while I don't cover the Pecos League, I keep a feel for it because it's good. It's a good place to find future potential players in Indie Ball.
Even better place to find copper wiring.
And frankly, as the Pioneer League spirals, you just keep an eye on what's going on. You keep an ear to the ground on the other leagues, so you know what's going on. And also, a lot of good coaches come from the Pecos, so it's good to know. Anyway, but with that, Nick doesn't. So yeah, I get the privilege of every once in a while going, so want to hear what's been going on in the Pecos? And it's and look, man, indie bowl is always weird,
Like I'm
but
basically an audience surrogate at this point when we talk about the Pecos. Like we're just like, no shit, really?
you know what it is.
Yeah, you know what it is. Black and yellow, black and yellow.
Shut up, God.
But any case, so Yuba Sutter formerly hired Frank Gonzalez. He's going to be their manager. He was with NOCO in 23 and 24. A lot of years in minor league baseball as a whole. Played for 8 years. Coached the Colorado State University Rams for about 6 years too, and then various other stops. General thoughts on Frank getting the gig?
I mean, we knew Billy Horton was going to be looking for a gig. That kind of came through in the fall. It just sucks for him. And first, I'm sorry, I'm talking Billy first because you talk about who's leaving as the person comes in. But yeah, it sucks because it's just one of those like weird musical chairs things where there's only so many spots. We've talked, I think, in the past about there's a lot of recycling of managers right now in indie ball. And some people who I think will say we don't necessarily agree deserve second chances, and some that do. Mm-hmm. And where it gets complicated is then you have a couple of new guys, JT Snow, for instance. You got just you end up so you lose a couple seats, or you think you're gaining seats because there's new teams, and you're just not. So it's hard because if you get to the game late, there ain't many chairs left, and you just get caught out, and it sucks. I mean, I've seen it. We've seen it multiple times. I mean, it's true for everybody in the baseball industry. I mean, if you're a marketing person, you lose your job and it's too close to the season, you're just cooked, and it is what it is, right? So yeah, it's a bit of that. And it just sucks for him because he has had a good track record. Last season was a struggle, but you get the feel that there was just that season was good, and then they got absolutely run down because they had a bad timing, like back-to-back series, like 6-game series with Oakland, so they lost like 11 of 12, and that was that. Yeah, that sucks. I don't think that's why he lost that gig. It's just that they wanted to go a certain direction. They know Frank, it seems, and they wanted to bring in Frank. That said, Frank Gonzalez is fantastic. I will admit to not knowing him personally, but there's things where when you talk to as many people as we talk to, there's no way at a certain point that somebody could slide through without, if they were an issue, without somebody mentioning it. People love to mention when somebody's an issue. From my coverage of what happened with Grand Junction last year, I spoke to so many players. I spoke to so many front office people, so many locals, so many community people, so many people working with the town, and journalists as well out there. I got to say, probably talked to 40 something people by the end of that. I would say over 20 of them had met Frank Gonzalez, and in various capacities, from being with him every day to being with him for an hour. All of them said he was the man. And I'm sorry, I was talking about NOCO rather. Yep. And then before NOCO, he went to Grand Junction after that. But all the NOCO people basically said that they knew there was trouble when he was gone, and they were kind of like, don't love it. So basically, wherever he goes, it just seems like he has a great way to get in with the community. He understands the assignment. He can bring in good guys. He's competed in some really difficult situations. I think he's a great pull for a team that really needs a successful season on and off the field. I think he's such a good move. I mean, hell, man. Yeah, because we've talked about Yuba being kind of shockingly an issue, like to a shocking extent. I mean, Frank went 41 and 55 at Grand Junction last year. That's insane for a team that was folding up.
Yeah, at a certain point, you need a vibe just to kind of come in there and clean things up. I can't imagine Yuba's exactly desirable place to be at.
Oh, shot. It's fine.
It's not great.
It's a great place to disappear into the mountains, tell you that much. By the way, I want to step in here. I kind of buried Billy there, like record wise. They went 50 and 46. I made it sound like they just spiraled out after losing the series to Oakland. They still were 4 games above 500. So I don't know. Crazy.
I don't know. I don't really have too much to say about it. It feels a little bit just like we're shuffling people around here. And like,
yeah,
it's the Pioneer League still. So it's always kind of a crapshoot here. And when I look at the Pioneer League at this point, I kind of in my head I'm saying, all right, well, two of the four playoff spots are going to be going to Missoula and Oakland. So it's really a fight for the other two. And that's kind of where I have a harder time getting really overly invested just because, man, when there's only two other spots and all the other issues they've had, you know, is what it is. But regardless, it is an interesting move. Bring him in, as you said, well liked, so that's probably a positive here, especially around a team that, again, I'm curious to know the state and status of that whole organization.
I mean, so it was, owned by the group with Oakland. They seem to do an ownership transfer. I'm not super illuminated to who is running things there. I think Oakland still might have. I don't know. I don't know what the divide is there. It's hard to track. But yeah, I don't necessarily know. I don't think it was as successful as they would have liked based on attendance numbers last year. I think they really thought they had something else. I like that market, by the way. I've been pushing that market for a while, and the lack of delivery on that was really strange because it was one of those things where they were successful for the Pecos League, and then you go, okay, so what this, how much can you grow this for the Pioneer? Like, you expect more legitimacy, more funding, a more solid base to build off of. You would assume that they would be able to build off of that, and yeah, really, it felt like it didn't. They just kind of put up Pecos numbers again, and you're like, oh, oof, all right. So that kind of caused me to pause a little bit. So I would probably keep an eye on that. Not that they're going to go anywhere, but it's just, an ongoing struggle, it seems like.
Speaking of struggles, you want to talk about the Pecos League and what they're doing?
Yeah, man. I mean, speaking of the Pecos League, frankly. Yeah. So I'm not on it every day. I'm not checking every box score, whatever. I'm a traveler through the Pecos. My home is in the other four leagues, right? So it really, the things that get my attention are just the reminder on my phone that says, hey, let's take a look at this, because it's a Monday and we should see what happened in the Pecos this week. Or something crossed my mind because they have a weirdly active Facebook profile, I guess. I don't know. You understand. Take a look and you understand. The tone and the, at times, transparency of the Facebook page is like almost comical at times. I don't even know how to say it without seeming insulting. That's not what I was going for. But it's just the wildness of it, right? And I will say a lot of the things here are always the thing of, Andrew Dunn. A lot of things seem late or thrown together. A lot of things don't, because it seems like they're in a rhythm. But I just think that, a lot of that has to do with Andrew Dunn running 14 teams and trying to keep infrastructure going at 14 teams and people that run things and make decisions, whatever. But at the same time, no one, ideally you would have known 14 teams out of the 15-year league. So what got my attention this week was because I already saw Pecos League schedules because I've been checking it because I'm probably going out to Trinidad this year. And I saw something about a change to the schedule. And I was like, well, that's weird because schedule's been out a while. They were on the ball there. And I realized it accompanied a change in league alignment as the 16-team league suddenly became a 15-team league. And now you have my attention. So I'm kind of double checking still. I want to make sure that just making sure that there aren't any other teams on the move that I just forgot, because they've been added. If you're unfamiliar, Pecos is constantly making roster moves, but instead of a roster, it's the teams that are in the league. And so I'm just comparing notes real quick, right? So the big one that was a headliner for them is they added Grand Junction as the Pecos left. That would be the Grand Junction. I always forget their name. That's unfortunate for me. What do they land with? It's a bad name, if I'm going to be honest with you.
It's like a shittier version of the alternate identity they did when they were in the Pioneer.
Yeah, the Grand Junction Razorback Suckers. Like, all right, I get it. Sure. Okay, so essentially there's just like oddities, right? and this is just like it's just a very Pecos League series of events. Already, the Kansas City Hormigas weren't coming back. Kansas City, I mean, odd sports market to begin with. It's whatever. But it sounds like from a lot of the Facebook comments, just no one knew the team wasn't coming back. At the same time, you've got the Austin Weirdos still floating around. I noticed the Austin Weirdos, despite being the travel team based, I guess, in Austin, is now in California with that division out there. Presumably, the graphic that says there's 3 divisions of 5 teams each only has 2 divisions on it, but that's fine. But what really got my attention was I'm like, well, who else is gone? Because I knew about the Kansas City thing. I knew about some of the other issues going on. And then I found it. And it was about Vallejo. And I was like, well, Vallejo's had pro ball for a long time. Like, what? They had Pacific Association, they had Pecos. Like, it's kind of, they know what they're getting. They're built for it. And then I saw the post from the Pecos League Facebook. Vallejo's Wilson Park, and I confess I knew this information before, but I figured it just got ironed out. Vallejo's Wilson Park won't be playable for the 2026 season. ... Copper stolen in January. ... Original plan of having 2 travel teams not feasible. Pecos League to go with 5 teams in Pacific Division, 100% balanced schedule. ... All teams will play 48 games. ... Schedules updated on all platforms. San Rafael, Dublin, Martinez, and Bakersfield will play 30 home games and 18 away games. They will play each team in division, except for Austin, home and away exactly 6 times. Austin Weirdos will be based in the Bay Area, generally, and play all 48 games as the away team. New Oakland Ballers just dropped, ? That was me. I added that last part. Grand Junction and Tucson move into the Pacific Division 2026. Okay. My, oh my, how much to unpack. And to say this is...
I don't
want to... Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't want to gloss over the fact here that they had to change the schedule in a matter of weeks before first pitch because copper was stolen from a ballpark. This is almost like an Always Sunny plot.
Yes.
Like, that's where I keep getting hung up on here. Like, the Pecos League having to do this weird shuffling around and essentially announcing their news through Facebook, and the most convoluted way of doing it with a lot of dots as opposed to just doing bullet points. Not at all surprising. That makes sense here. Having to cancel something last minute, 100% Pecos League. But the thought of it being because Hopper was stolen from the ballpark, gutted from the ballpark, one would say.
Mm-hmm.
And then the town was like, yo, copper's really expensive. We're not going to be able to do much with that on this short of notice. It's going to take some time here. We're not that big of a city to where we can just drop like probably a high 6-figure, low 7-figure expenditure like that on it. This is the kind of thing you got to budget for. We could do a little bit, but not much. And it's the kind of job that you just got to bang out at once. Otherwise, it's going to be more expensive than it's worth doing. And so, like, the fact that that's the reason why we're here right now is phenomenal. Like, I'm used to just regular piss poor management or, like, owner vanity or league over ambition being the reason teams got to fold up. But copper being stolen from the city park ballpark where they have to play is just phenomenal on so many levels.
Yeah. And now there's a lot to this, right? Because this has been a saga. And that's why I want to bring people into this journey. It's... where to begin? Yeah, right. I mean, I'm trying to find the right article as well because there was one specific article that had good details, and I'm trying to track that back down. This goes back a while, and I don't know where to even point to, but I will say we found And I, frankly, when I say I pay attention to the Pecos League, like this is the kind of thing that I miss at first blush, essentially. So I think it's interesting that Vallejo apparently they've had baseball for a while. Then all of a sudden they're not going to come back to the teams are going to come back to Vallejo last year, and it was pretty late in the offseason that it was decided, right? Which raises an eyebrow, sure. Then you have, and I'm just trying to find an article that doesn't have a paywall here, but so I'm sorry if I'm kind of stalling, but and I'm not giving a lot of specifics, but you find that just 3 weeks later, like into the season, the team from Vallejo that repurposed itself into Santa Rosa, which is just another former market, by the way, that if I remember right, they had field issues, which is why they left Santa Rosa. And then they went to Santa Rosa and still had field issues. And then next thing you know, they're walk of shaming back. And they're like, well, because of, field issues and fans were coming back. So whatever. But all that to say, there's layers to this. And there's some classic interactions on it because the article, and I won't go through the whole article, but boy, that 2020. Yeah, the article about the 2025 move was interesting. And there's so many just classic, I'm trying to think of the way to say it, right? There's so many lines where you don't need to say anything. I understand you. Like details about like the phone call that happened between Andrew Dunn and the head of like Parks and Rec or whatever it is, and how they just have two very different versions of the call. And
it's a lot of typical Andrew Dunn things, which if
we're going to let Andrew Dunn cool off before we negotiate potentially coming back next year. Like that's a banger. Dunn just being like, I don't owe money, and him being like, yes, you do. And he's like, well, then I'm leaving. And you're like, okay. It's wild.
Wow.
And all of it, by the way, again, remember, then they come back like 3 weeks into the season. So it's just a lot. I don't even know how much further to go into it, but the punchline kind of comes from just the amount of, because I don't even know who to blame, right? Because that same guy, who was the director or whatever, that like recreation, whatever they had going on, right? He just retired. I don't know if that was related to what happened with the copper wire. The amount of copper wire that was stolen, which is listed in one of these articles, but again, everything is Times Herald, everything is paywalled. It was a lot. Like it was a lot. It didn't seem like a one night of work, in my opinion. I know some very productive crackheads, like I'm sure of it, but it just seems like a lot of work for one night. That's
a team of crackheads. You see, they're like raccoons when they get in.
Ain't that a fact? So I wonder at times, like maybe this guy isn't super capable. Like, yeah, the damage is so extensive that will require replacement of the following items: main electrical service switchgear, building electrical distribution equipment, field lighting controls, field lighting conduits and wiring, field lighting distribution equipment at the poles, PG&E facilities and distribution equipment, building damage. I mean, dude, they were taking the lights and the wiring down. Like, I don't know, man.
I mean, it could also be a situation of where they just structurally damage the thing to where it is not safe to operate it.
Right, but I mean, we're still talking a lot of distribution equipment. I mean, that's theoretically, I mean, we could be talking, I mean, potentially even like a transformer, maybe. Like, there's a lot, because that's what I think of. I mean, for having worked for PBL for a little bit, I don't know. It's just wild to me. Current light poles will also need to be inspected for structural integrity, so that was listed separately. Man, it's pretty wild.
Like they got in and they were just like pretty much cracking open anything they thought could have wiring and just ripping it out.
You were real though. I mean, it was just, they were going for it. It is the thing. I'm seeing one more time. I'm seeing if I can get the article about him resigning, the guy from from the town, just to see if it even mentions if it's related. Retired, I guess, but the timing is interesting. And I wonder, but I'm like, is that an indicator that the town wants them back? That's also interesting. I don't know.
I wouldn't read that much into it. I think it's more or less the guy's been there for a while, saw this shit happen, said, I'm not going to be the one that deals with this. I'm out.
Yeah, I could also see that. I think a lot back to the fact that Reading famously had a really good engineering a huge viaduct in town, and all of a sudden he just had a mental breakdown, so he retired from doing the job and went to California, and then a few years later just went back to doing business as usual. I was like, oh, he just wanted to get away from this project. Understood. So there's always room for that. I don't know. I'm really trying to see if we got something here. I'm sorry that I didn't have this pulled already. I wasn't sure that would go back this direction, and I ended up going back this way. I'm trying to see. I mean, he's a younger guy. Gotta be honest. Not all has been pleasant in the GVRD in the last decade. I don't want to give him better. It was after like a list of all of his accomplishments, right? But it is in the article. Not all has been pleasant at GVRD, the Greater Vallejo Recreation District. In the last decade, a 2025 article by the Vallejo Sun claimed that Greater Vallejo Recreation District workers, Safari Harris and Jessica Blanco, experienced violence, threats, and unsanitary conditions at work, along with inadequate handling of potentially hazardous chemicals and inadequate safeguards for workers from bloodborne pathogens. I got two guesses in the working situation they had. Around the same time period, the Times Herald reported that, but it feels very relevant, by the way, to copper stealing, but we'll deal with that later. Around the same time period, the Times Herald reported that Lanús and Vallejo Seaweed owner Andrew Dunn disagreed on how to handle Wilson Park, where the minor league baseball team usually plays from late May through July or early August. Dunn, who also owns the Pecos League, said at the time that he was frustrated over lack of communication on GVRD's part. I just remember the part that I have to fill you in on. The Pecos, he said at the time he was frustrated, saying that he'd been reaching out to the organization for months with little to no response. A deal was eventually made to keep the team in Vallejo after the organization moved to Santa Rosa for the first few weeks of 2025. News said that in retrospect, there are things he would do differently. I think I would maybe build bridges with Vallejo groups earlier than I did, the news said. I started in GVRD as a park supervisor, and maybe some bridge building could have started then. I wish I had a bigger impact on the school and state districts earlier. I mean, dude was doing the job for like 10 to 15 years or something. So I don't know. He had a good run at it. The news said he wanted to pass the baton as smoothly as possible. So it sounds like there were some things he could have done better, for sure. Anytime they mention doing something better in the article, it's kind of like, okay, got it. But this is the highlight, the Andrew Dunn highlight in my mind for the situation from 2025. Let me see if I can get it here. There's the article. I just thought this was such a banger. God, okay, there's so much. I don't want to overread this, so I'm just going to pick and choose because there's so many amazing quotes, man. There's so many bangers in here.
We'll link the whole thing.
He called me at 1:45, 2 p.m. and began to complain about the lack of communication. Just like straight in. Here we go. Hold on. Control F this thing. There we go. Dunn, who also owns the Pecos League, said he's frustrated over lack of communication on GVRD's part, saying he's been reaching out to the organization for months with little to no response. Dunn says he previously spoke with his main contact, Julie Myers, who is no longer with GVRD. In the meantime, the news said Anthony Ryans has taken over communications with Dunn. Dunn told the Times Herald on Thursday that Seaweed general manager Alex Owens recently informed him that an email was sent to Dunn on February 11th concerning the Seaweed playing at Wilson Park. However, Dunn claims he never received the email. Since then, both sides are claiming lack of communication. It's just so funny that the GM himself is like, no, man, you got this email. It's just like very clearly this email happened. He claims he didn't get it, but like other people saw that he was on the email. So it's wild. I don't know. It was just all a very Pecos League situation. It made me laugh. Though I do wonder, like, I feel like Urkel. I mean, like, did I do that? This is what I get for an off season of eyeballing the Pioneer League and the uneven talent that we're getting out there and going, I tell you, the Pecos League is catching up. And this is not as an endorsement. I'm just saying, like, we need to be aware that the Pecos League is getting slightly closer to the Pioneer in talent, especially at like the below average line for league talent. The bottom half of the league is getting closer, essentially. Like we just need to be aware, and if the Pioneer League doesn't play their cards right, maybe the Pecos all of a sudden actually stumbles into something here. And then this, so many reminders in just the course of about 3 articles of why.
This is why I tell you, don't bet on them being a real league.
Yeah,
they will
always
never do it.
Away.
It's because the problems start up at the top and then they filter down. And let's also not forget here, right? These are not really, they are independent in the sense that they're not taking orders from a major league club here, but they are more satellite teams than anything else, where they're serving a goal other than just the baseball. And they're not traditional setups either, right? Better or worse, the Pioneer League is a fairly traditional setup here, where you have the team in the city and a formal ballpark, and everything's all like you'd expect going to a minor league game.
Mm-hmm.
A league that less than 10 years ago graduated from having to take guys who would pay to play in the league as though it were men's league, and still is largely running out of city-ran parks. The kind of thing you'd expect a little league game at is not going to be a serious threat, even if there are a handful of teams that seem to rise above the challenges. Now, if they were more than just, satellite teams to one guy and were actual independently owned and operated franchises, then I could see something there. Because then they would probably do the logical thing, which is get the hell away from the Pecos League, even if that means forming our own league or seeking. Then I could see it. But, you have beef on so many different markets. You have whatever the hell rinky-dink situation where you're beefing with Vallejo, so you go back to a failed market, a failed Pecos League market, mind you, which really is like oh God, people aren't going to pay to see baseball here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You give up on that less than a month in because you realize there was a reason you left there and you have to at least play nice now. And every conversation starts the same damn way, which is, yeah, we talked very briefly, and then it turned into complaining or accusing. That's the Pecos League story. And that is why the Pecos League will never seemingly be able to rise above, because they are limited at the top, and they are limited by what they are actually able to do, and they're just a limited league from that straight through. And let's not forget, stat keeping can't entirely be trusted either in the Pecos League. It's not good. From everything I can find, there's no official scores or anything like that. It's just a guy they picked. And there's a lot of times where the field isn't exactly in great shape either when you show up there. So it's like, all right, is it an error or did it hit a rock?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a serious conversation you got to have, especially when you got guys, taking BP and ripping cigs 4 hours before game time in the damn thing.
Yeah, there's a lot. And it makes you just sort of, it's not that it couldn't ever happen. It's just that the number of things that would have to happen simultaneously seem mutually exclusive, essentially. It's either you got to get out of parks, in which case, how are you going to fiscally do that? Or you just got to really lean in to that vibe, in which case the amount of community building and essentially bridge building cordial conduct just seems not
yeah, but even in that latter event, we've seen something similar to that happen before, and it was called the Intercounty Baseball League. That's not the Canadian Baseball League. And I'm sorry, who's taking them seriously, at least in the beginning?
Yeah.
So, it's basically Canadian Pecos, but they had at least enough decency to call themselves semi-pro until a handful of owners in that league said, look, it's pro or we're gone, and if we're gone, you're up the creek. So what's it going to be? Right?
Yeah.
So,
That's it. That's kind of how it boils down.
Yeah, that's the situation here. So, like, pessimistic or not, I mean, that's the reality of the Pecos League here. And like, I feel bad for guys that go there because they want to keep playing, they want to find a route, and they want to find something. And like, there's some opportunity to advance through it. We've seen it before. It's also true with the coaching side, but like, it really is a dead end of a league.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't go that far. I see enough guys make the jump up and hang okay. That as somebody who's in the weeds, like pulling every baseball reference that, gets an indie ball during the year, like I see it a good bit. I'm not going to go as far as say it's a dead end. I will say the Pecos to affiliated pathway is really getting narrow.
I mean, I'm trying to really think of like a lot of guys that I see that are making notable waves or consistently getting indie ball jobs here, and that come from the Pecos, and I can only think of a couple. Like it's single digits that I can think of.
I mean, it's a lot of role guys, like let's be honest, but yeah. I mean, that's a different conversation on that one because I can, give you a look at what we've got going from people who make the jump to one league to another. I know I had a comp going for a while of how many people go Pecos to Pioneer versus Pioneer to Frontier, and I don't remember where that landed last year. I can go back and do the math again, but for at least a while, it was pretty close. But I don't know. That's not the endorsement. I'm just saying I wouldn't go as far as say it's a dead end. It works for some, but boy, you need some things to line up for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
any other drama in the Pecos or?
I don't think so. I think it's kind of what we got.
Yeah, because that's really all we got for the week. I mean, we could do the rivalry thing this week, but I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of tired.
Yeah, I'm tired too, and I got a lot still to do. As I said, I even started the Atlantic League preview, so I'm going to have to get on that. And I have 2 more videos to drop before I do the actual weekend of the tryout video. So I got plenty going on my end here.
All right, then I'm fine calling it just a short week. There's going to be a bonus episode with the Atlantic League preview anyway, so I feel like that's a good place to be in. So if you want to plug some stuff here, and we'll get out of here. I'm fine doing that.
Yeah. I got it's Indie Ball Nation, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, podcast platforms. Should have a podcast dropping, I think, in the next few days. I think that's a soft think. But I will have one. I think I'm probably going to do one video on YouTube this week. Might do 2 next week, all in the tryout one.
Yeah.
Almost knock something over here. 1 or 2, depending on how I edit them. And then the video from the tryout. I'll probably post it on Instagram, sort of live updates from the tryout. I'm hoping to get some interview content with managers as well. We'll see how that goes. And then I might hold that, the interviews, depending on how things shake out. I might hold that for like my season preview for Frontier League. Then the Atlantic League preview will be out. It will just be a little later than it tends to be for me, just because of the funky timing with me agreeing to do the tryout camp. And then, it's literally the tryout camp ends on Tuesday, and that's also opening day for the Atlantic League. So it's just a lot. And because I'm on the road Saturday and then I'm there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and back on the road Tuesday night, it's just going to be a lot to figure out. So it might just be, it was really cheating to be like, after the first series, it's so much easier to say teams are good or bad, but really it isn't. It's whatever. Most of the teams where we go, wow, they're terrible after 3 games. We could have told you that before any game. So whatever.
Yeah. Indie Ball Pod, Twitter, Indie Ball Report, everywhere else. Gonna start putting some more stuff out here. So I was putting an article out last week that never got out. So we're still working on that. But yeah, expect a bonus pod sometime, probably mid-week. I would say probably like Tuesday, Wednesday-ish. Probably be about right. And we'll be talking about the Atlantic League then. But until then, don't forget to play ball.